Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to give you my non-spoiler reaction and thoughts on Marvel's Infinity War, probably the biggest movie of the year, and until next year when the other one comes out, part 2. Just before we get started, the footage that you're going to be seeing behind me on the screen is largely from Marvel Future Fight, which is the game that I primarily do on this channel. If you're not familiar with it, and if you like what you see, you can check out other content that I have on the game because I cover it pretty much every day. Now, jumping right into the movie, if you haven't seen it, of course, or if you don't even know what's going on in Marvel's Infinity War, I'll give you a quick recap. You have all the good guys, the Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Asgardians like Thor and his brother, etc. And they get assaulted, they get jumped by Thanos and his kind of bodyguards, his generals, and they want the Infinity Stones, and they're kind of scattered throughout the universe, and it's basically Thanos' journey, quest, challenge to get them. Now, what I think really makes this movie a challenge that Marvel really nailed is the balancing act. As I just mentioned, we have dozens of different characters, both new and existing, calling back from movies as old as 10 years ago with the original Iron Man, that are all being shown in some limited capacity. No one dominates the screen, of course, as much as Thanos, because he is the boat that moves the story along. But I think that Marvel does a fantastic job of giving everyone just enough screen time so you don't feel like it's this person's movie or it's that other person's movie, and it really feels like a genuinely collaborative, culminating event as it's supposed to. In addition to that, they also do a really good job of having a sufficient number of callbacks to previous movies. So while you don't necessarily need to watch the dozen or 24 movies that preceded Infinity War, of course it helps and it gives you more context and it gives you the backstory of a lot of these heroes. You don't necessarily need to do so, but if you do, you are rewarded during the movie with these little snippets that make you have these aha moments and really add some additional comedic flavor to a movie that is, in general, more serious, and definitely a lot more serious than more recent entries like Thor Ragnarok. But what I think really sets this apart from other movies, potentially like Thor Ragnarok and others, is that it's not a setup film. I think that's one of the major criticisms that Marvel has been dogged by with some of their films, that they just feel like they're setting up for something else. And I think the greatest payoff on all of those setup films has been this film, Infinity War, and this does not feel like a setup at all. This is definitely the payoff that you and I and everyone has been waiting for. This is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But speaking of the source material now, because this does come from the comics, of course, you will see a sufficient number, I think, of Easter eggs that will satisfy you if you've taken the time, or you're just a long-time comic fan of Marvel and you've gone back to read them or reread them more recently. But having said that, I did notice that it is definitely a new film. They do take quite a few cues and quite a few kind of structural pointers from the comics, but they definitely make enough changes where it feels like a whole new story. So even if you're going into the theater having read all of the iterations of the Infinity War and the Infinity Gauntlet, you will be surprised, and pleasantly at that. Finally, I want to make a quick comparison, because I think this is a very unique viewing experience, not only as a moviegoer, but more specifically as a Marvel fan. Having seen so many Marvel movies, this one made me feel different in a whole bunch of different ways. Of course, there are all the emotions of the actual movie itself, but in terms of the pacing, in terms of the tone, I think this marks a new chapter, not only in the Marvel, but also in movie going experiences in general. A lot of other movies, most other movies in fact, and Marvel movies in general, are more like log rides. If you think of a amusement park analogy, it starts off kind of slow. You're introducing the characters, you're getting used to the setting and what's kind of unfolding, and then you start to see on the horizon this huge pull-up, because there's going to be a drop-off, and that's kind of your problem and then resolution, where the bad guy or whatever happens, there's some climax, and then things are kind of peaceful at the end, or there's some kind of to-be-continued moment. Infinity War is not like that. You get a few breathers, but otherwise it is a non-stop roller coaster ride. It's one of those roller coasters where you have to strap your whole body in and you're basically frozen to your seat, because it's going to take you on loop-de-loops. You're going to go upside down, you're going to go at Mach speed, and you're going to feel almost discombobulated by the end of the movie, and I definitely think that's what makes it also worth a second or third viewing, because you're just so inundated with just scene after scene after scene of epic moments. This is the ultimate culmination of epic scenes back to back to back to back for the full, what is it, 2 hours and 30 minutes of runtime. So I'm really impressed with the movie. I was very happy with it. I think if you judge it on a critical level, it might not meet all of your expectations, but I think using that analogy of log ride or log cabin ride versus roller coaster, it's not like your typical movie because it relies on so much other material to kind of lift it to where it is. It deserves to kind of be like a supernova, just constantly exploding. I don't know if that's the right analogy, but whatever kind of astronomy or kind of analogy is suitable for something that's constantly exploding. That's what Infinity War was. So I hope you guys enjoyed my non-spoiler review. I hope if you haven't seen the movie that you're even more hyped to see it now, and that you can wait and be patient and dodge all the people trying to spoil it. Don't do that if you're one of them. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. Hit the bell if you don't want to miss any of my content. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.